As foldables have evolved over the years, no other device other than the Galaxy Z Fold 7 has made me actually intrigued enough as an Apple user to go and test out the waters to see if a foldable can replace like two devices for me, or at least give me a good experience of a phone and tablet combination. And man, has the Z Fold 7 been an experience that's worth unfolding. Now, before I move on, all I want to say is that I bought this phone for myself with my own money. I didn't attend Samsung's event. Samsung didn't send this to me. So you are getting my honest feedback. I want to start off with the design because here lies all of people's complaints and also a lot of things that I personally love. For example, the cover display. The fact that Samsung made this wider is such a huge help. I couldn't use any of the previous foldables, if I'm honest with you, because what you have to remember is that even though this is a folding device, you're going to be using it as a phone first. So if you look at your tablet and phone usage, there's probably a split between the two, right? Either it's a 70-30 split where 70% of the day you're using your phone, and then the other 30% is for the tablet. Here is the same exact thing. So I personally am probably some days like a 70-30 and other days a 60-40. Now, when you are using this as a phone and you don't have a good solid display on the front, that requires you to unfold the device and use a bigger screen for no reason, just because it's not a comfortable experience. But that's exactly what they've solved here. When you type with this, when you do your smartphone things, like if I handed this phone to you and I said, here's the new Samsung, and I didn't tell you it was a foldable, you wouldn't even know. That's how amazing of a job they've done with the cover screen. You can easily use it, and then when you unfold it, it just becomes a whole nother world. Apart from the cover screen, another thing that really makes this a comfortable phone first experience is just the overall thickness and just the weight of the device. Now, with its size and weight comes one of the biggest complaints about this device, which is the removal of the S Pen. I can totally understand the frustration because I love using an Apple Pencil with my iPad. If I'm using my iPad like 90% of the time, I'm using my Apple Pencil. I really enjoy that pencil and tablet experience. And obviously having an S Pen to interact with the Galaxy Z Fold 7 gives you that tablet experience. But what you have to remember here, how thin this actual device is, I mean, I would personally love that compromise because of the fact that because they made it so thin and light, it becomes a good phone first experience. Also, if you open this up and you're using it as a tablet, it's also a really light and comfortable experience. A lot more comfortable than smaller tablets. For example, the iPad mini has the same inner screen size. And guess what? That is not as comfortable of an experience. The size is great, but in terms of its weight, it has more heft to it. So this really taught me that like if I was to take any of the iPads that I've used and just slim them down, I could let go of having that pencil functionality. But this is going to vary person to person. You may or may not be okay with that, and that is totally going to be up to you. But if you were to ask me just how great of an experience I've had, whether this device is unfolded or folded, and again, please remember, I'm coming to you as like a full-time Apple user. Like, no bias here. This is a wonderful, wonderful experience. You've got to experience this. Now, with the design, obviously you're going to have a big camera bump. Obviously, because they've moved the cameras to the outside of the device, right? And everybody likes to do the tabletop test. I think it's so irrelevant. I'm only mentioning it simply because I want to tell you that it's irrelevant to me. I have never, ever used a device on its back and typed while it's on a desk. So I'm not even going to complain about that. If you are someone that does that, then yeah, that's something for you to complain about. But I'm not going to complain about it. Now, as for the cameras themselves, they you have one main good sensor, right? You have the 200 megapixel, which is your main wide lens right here. And for me personally, that is sufficient enough. I'm coming from an iPhone 16e, and I have gone above and beyond to show off the camera capabilities of this device simply because I think one good wide camera on a phone is more than enough. Over here, you do have the other cameras, but they give you different like focal lengths and everything. But I'm always resorting to the main wide lens, and that's the photos that you're seeing with it. On top of that, with the main wide lens, you've also got log recording capability. And what I really liked about the log video recording is the fact that you can, as soon as you're done recording, you can literally correct the color, which makes it really intuitive and easy for the average user to play around with such a capable format. When I was reviewing the iPhone 16 Pro devices or the 15 Pro devices, I said in those reviews that if you're buying these devices, you really want to learn how to shoot with ProRes and edit that footage. But here, the cool thing is that Samsung has done a friendly thing by just allowing you to swipe up on a log recording and you can just correct the colors right there and then. Of course, if you want to throw it into an editing program and edit it for yourself, you could do that as well, but that is just something great. So for me, like the camera is not that big of a deal. Now, looking at, I think what a lot of people complain about is the fact that you're paying $2,000, right? And so you should get the flagship cameras and everything. I can understand that, but again, for me, one main wide camera that is really good and capable is more than enough, and I have not found this camera to have any kind of shortcomings. Another thing I want to talk about is the hole cutout at the front. So this, instead of being the underscreen camera, it's now a cutout. I personally have no problem with it. Typically, I don't like cutout designs on cameras, but what I've noticed here in my experience is that when you are watching videos, when you are gaming, anything you're doing, the cutout tends to be like far off, right? So like imagine looking at a screen, you're gonna look more towards the center, right? So your eyes naturally gravitate. But on smaller devices, your eyes are going to the center of the display, but you can still kind of see the actual notch or cutout. So for example, if I go into the web browser, the cutout is at the very top, right? So it's just out of the way. And that is one thing that I personally am okay with. Now, as far as people complaining about the quality or anything like that, you have the rear camera. You have this device is capable of taking a selfie with the main camera, which a lot of phones don't do, right? A lot of phones depend on that front camera for selfies. This gives you an alternative option, which is awesome. Whether you're taking pictures of someone else, they can actually see themselves and they can actually pose right the right way, because usually if you've been with a spouse and you take their photos, like you end up making your spouse angry simply because they don't like what the photo turns out to be. Now, I want to move on to the inner display of this device, which, by the way, is a gorgeous 120 hertz display. It looks good. It's very smooth, whether you're gaming, you're browsing the net. Having this big screen that can just be unfolded at any given moment is such an amazing thing. Like, it's really awesome. But with foldables, you have a problem, right? This crease that you see. Now, trust me when I say this is what has kept me away from foldables for the longest time. Every time I tried a friend's foldable, I could see the crease and I just couldn't get away from looking at it. I can tell you from just my experience, whether I was gaming, whether I was browsing the internet, watching videos, the crease does not exist when you're actually looking directly at this device. Yes, if I try to right now bend around the device, okay, I found the crease. But I'm looking directly at it. I'm reading an article, I'm playing a game, you are not going to notice the crease. And that is one of the things that always held me back. And I'm so happy that that is not a problem here. So if you are someone that is looking at a foldable, and this one specifically, I can tell you this much, that you don't need to worry about the crease actually being a problem. Maybe on day one, you might notice it, but I promise you by the time that you get to like day two, day three, and you are just enjoying this experience, you are gonna love it. The next thing I want to move on to is the performance of this device. And I base this basically just on my day-to-day usage, whether it's the inner screen or the outer screen, whether it's through gaming, browsing the net, watching videos. I haven't had a single hiccup, even when multitasking and running multiple apps. Like I'm gaming on one side, I've got YouTube going on the other side. This has not had any issue whatsoever. It's such a smooth experience because you take that good performance, combine it with a fast refresh rate display and a beautiful one, and you've got yourself a really good experience. So I personally have not had any issue. And what really impressed me was that when I was gaming with the Backbone Pro controller and playing Call of Duty for an hour straight, I'm charging the device as well. It did not even get hot. That was what was really amazing, because most devices, when you go to game on them and you're charging at the same time, that's when they get cooked and you start to notice a bit of a slowdown. This is probably why they didn't add fast charging to this, like beyond what it can already do, right? And that's another thing, man. Like, I swear, sometimes we complain about the silliest things. Like, let me remind you how thin this device is, and the fact that this probably doesn't have fast charging because, well, when you make something so thin, there's only so much pressure that you can put on the internals, especially the battery. You've seen those SD cards for cameras? If you stack two of those, that's about as thick as this device is. Okay, that is just absolutely mind blowing. And let me remind you of the things that are in here. There is a processor in here. There's batteries. There's antennas. There's ports. There's accelerometers, gyroscopes, cameras. Well, camera is actually on the outside, but you get the idea. Like, the amount of like hate that we give certain devices for like the smallest problem really sometimes makes me wonder, like, shouldn't we actually instead be amazed that we get to have such amazing devices in the palms of our hands? Like, this is literally a phone and tablet with amazing performance, amazing capabilities that literally can fold and just live in your pocket. No words. Now, speaking of the charging and batteries, this is giving me good battery life. Like, honestly, I can still make it through a day. I use the 80% charge limit. And if you're concerned about fast charging, well, let me translate it into English for you, which is when you plug this in at 30% and you're using the 80% limit, you know what it's usually telling me the estimated time? 27 minutes, 28 minutes. Like, are we really that crunched on time that we don't have 28 minutes to let a device charge to 80% and then you're on your way? Like, seriously, you're on your way and you are totally going to be fine. Like, I can get through this on a day-to-day basis, no issues, even though I'm not charging my phone up to the 100%. Now, as for whether or not you're going to be able to go through the entire day is entirely dependent on how much you're using the inner screen, how much you're using the cameras, how much you're using the outer screen. So I really can't say whether you will be able to make it through a day, but I am happy that I can make it through a day with this Galaxy Z Fold 7. The last thing I want to talk about is the price and just my thoughts on whether or not this is the right device for you. For price, this is priced at 2,000 US dollars. And that is steep, right? For combining the phone and tablet experience. But I think that if you're really going to take advantage of this, which I am, Like I'm mainly an iPhone and iPad user. That's what I've been. And I've seen that this can replace both of those devices. So if that's the case for you, then it's worth it. Also, another thing you have to remember is in the United States, there's a lot of trade-in offers. Samsung has a lot of trade-in offers and stuff, right? So technically, you're not getting the device for that $2,000 price point. You might be able to score in a good trade-in deal, which nets the cost on this device to only $1,000. And then if you look at this at that price point compared to a lot of other devices, this blows them out of the water. And that's just how it is. So check your retailers and stuff like to see what maybe you can get a good deal or something like that. Obviously, in countries outside of the US, outside of the UK, a lot of times these trade-in offers and stuff, they just don't happen. So you're paying the full price. And that's where I think that, okay, you have to think a little bit as to whether or not you're actually gonna take full advantage of this, because that's what I always preach is buy a device that you're gonna be taking full advantage of. As long as it lines up and fits in with the things that you're looking to do, then go out and spend your money. Otherwise, you're better off with a phone or a device that doesn't have all the bells and whistles that you might just be paying extra for no reason. As for my experience, it has been absolutely amazing. I love it. I've been an iPhone and iPad user for many years now, and while I've been carrying this, I've just been able to leave those two behind. And that's what I had to do to really see if this is a device that can replace two devices for me. In terms of like, if you are one of the viewers on my channel that is mainly in the Apple ecosystem, then what you need to think about is like, are all the apps that you're using going to be available? For me, that wasn't a problem except for one app, but still not a big problem. In terms of transferring iCloud data to Google Cloud, that's very simple. It's not really challenging. So if green bubbles are what's holding you back, or maybe you have a bunch of things like AirPods and stuff, yeah, I can understand why you don't want to switch over. But if Apple was to make a device exactly like this and give it iOS, I can hands down say that you probably will be in line to buy it. I've really enjoyed the Galaxy Z Fold 7. It is a great experience, and I think that if you're on Android and you're looking for a good foldable that is going to do both things, and it depends on the market you're in too, because like a lot of people compare to the Honor and to this flagship and that flagship, but the thing is, like in the US, this is your option. The other option is the Pixel 10 Pro Fold or the 9 Pro Fold, right? Which the 10 Pro Fold I will be getting, by the way. So that's something to think about. But for me, the experience has been great, and it really makes me jealous because, like, man, I wish Apple would do something like this, because a lot of people would love this device. I really hope you found this video helpful. I just always love to share my experience with the device as opposed to focusing on the technical specifications and running down data points and benchmarks and stuff. So if you've appreciated an experience-based review of mine, please give me a thumbs up, as it'll help more people find this video. And like always, I'll see you in the comments down below. And most importantly, take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.